take a minute and do a review on Persona 3 for the PSP. Great game. I'm got like over 110 hours into it or something. I don't have a problem. I can stop anytime I want. But anyways, yeah, this is an excellent game, and you know, there's going to be a lot of kind of comparisons to Persona 4 just because it's the first game in the series that I played. Also a couple other games, perhaps. But anyways, here we go. So the story starts off with you're the silent protagonist, and you actually transfer to this Gekkoukan High School. And while you're there, you discover this strange thing called the Dark Hour, which is an extra hour in every day that happens at midnight. And when this happens, all the people in the town transmogrify into coffins, except for a small band of Persona users. You're one of them, of course. And also at the same time, there are these monsters that are called shadows that come out and, you know, attack people that aren't transmogrified into coffins. In addition to that, there's also this building that replaces your school called Tartarus, which is a giant tower. It's just like a 200-floor dungeon, and you know, it's jam-packed with monsters and, you know, randomly generated levels and stuff. So, you know, as far as the story goes, I'm not going to get too much more into it just because I don't want to ruin it for anybody. Now, this game is a little bit different from Persona 3 FES and Persona 4 in that you don't actually see your character wandering around in the towns and stuff. They actually, I think just because the PSP isn't that powerful, they dumbed it down a little bit. What they did is they have like 2D backgrounds, and they have like all these like little markers on them, and you just move the analog stick to them to go where you want, and you know, you're just a cursor basically. But when you talk to people, you know, it'll show like their sprite or whatever, or like some anime artwork, I should say. And you know, I found it a little jarring at first. I didn't like that part of it at first, so when I started playing it, I'd play it for like an hour at a time and then just kind of put it down. But after about 10-15 hours, like, the story really started to grab me a little bit, and it started pulling me in more and more. And, you know, now I just can't put it down. And for this version, now this is not the definitive version. If you want the definitive version, get Persona 3 FES for the PlayStation 2. Because this one doesn't have the answer bonus content that was in that one. But on the other hand, it does have it has a female protagonist that you can play as, which opens up different social links and changes a few things around here and there. Actually, that also gives you different music in the background as well. Okay, so moving on. There's kind of like two big portions of the game. One is your day-to-day life, where you're just, you know, you're going to school, you're taking tests, all that stuff. You're also building relationships with friends, which are called social links. And these are key to the game because by building these social links, it enables you to create stronger personas in the other aspect of the game, which is the dungeon crawling. And, you know, when you have a persona of like whatever arcana, you can actually level up in that social link faster. So the two kind of work hand in hand very well. But yeah, the social links are very cool. It's there's nice character development, and I really like all the characters in the game. I didn't really like them at first, just because I like Persona 4's characters a little bit more. I don't know, that's just me, but I like both games a lot. I'd rate Persona 4 as my favorite PS2 game, and you know, even though I'm not playing the PS2 version, this one would be like right up there because it's really good. And another comparison to Persona 4 is that, like, I felt the story in Persona 4. Sorry. I felt the story in Persona 4 kind of grabbed me right away, and it just pulled me in and wouldn't let go, and I was addicted to it immediately. This one, like I said before, it took a little while, but you know, after about 10-15 hours, you know, it really, you know, grabbed me, pulled me in, and I just couldn't stop. Okay, so I've discussed the social links. Now moving on to the dungeon crawling. So you go to this place called Tartarus, and you fight all sorts of shadows, and there's, you know, mid bosses in there and stuff as well. And the combat is pretty much your straightforward turn-based combat. There are a few different elements in there. For instance, there is a break system. I know what you're thinking. If you remember my Xenosaga 2 review a little while back, my main problem with that game was the break system. Well, actually, it wasn't really the break system, it was the fact that it took like 3 or 4 turns of preparation just to be able to do any kind of damage to enemies. Now this game does it a lot better because just about every enemy has one weakness. All you have to do is hit that weakness. You don't have to like stock attacks or guard or boost or any nonsense like that. You know, you just either take a guess and hit the enemy with an attack he's weak against, or you can ask your support character to scan it, and then after a few turns they'll say, hey, this enemy is weak against ice, use Bufu. And when you do that, when you use your Bufu skill on a character that's weak against ice, one of 3 things will happen. First thing is you'll get an extra turn, so you can, you know, you can move on to another enemy and down them. And I don't know if I mentioned that, but when you hit an enemy with an attack they're weak against, you down them. But you can choose to hit another enemy, or you can hit the same one. If you hit the same one, there is a very good chance that you're going to make him dizzy, and that will make him lose a turn. Second thing that can happen is one of your teammates will jump in and offer to help you out, and what they'll do is actually down another enemy. The last thing is that if all the enemies are down, you have the opportunity to do an all-out attack with all your party members for big damage. And usually this is enough for most normal enemies in the game. Bosses usually take like 2 or 3 of them, and you know, then they're done. I suppose it depends on what difficulty level you set it at, and you can, there are options for difficulty level at the beginning of the game. Once you start the game though, you can adjust that, so you have to really take a minute and think, like, you know, how skilled are you? Are you like a Shin Megami Tensei Pro? Or are you just going to be able to blast through it? You know, because then you want the max difficulty. Or if you're a noob or noobish, you know, you want to start at one of the easier ones. And one thing I really like about this game and Persona 4 is the music. It's like a lot of J-pop stuff. There's also some jazzy elements in there, and it really gives the soundtrack, you know, a unique vibe. Like, how many RPGs do you know that have like tracks with vocals in them as the main battle song? Like, not many. Like, I've heard a few boss songs have that, but not like total J-pop songs for your battle music. So, you know, it's definitely different there. But yeah, it's very enjoyable. It's they're actually some of my favorite soundtracks. And you know, I love stuff like the Xenogears soundtrack and Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, you know, Final Fantasy VI. But you know, this is so different that it gets a big thumbs up for me. Now, graphically, the game did take kind of a little hit, just because, you know, the PSP is not, it's not a PS2, it's not as powerful. I would kind of equate this to like a PlayStation 1.75 if I had to talk about graphical power. But anyways, so like when you're walking around in dungeons, and you can actually see your characters in dungeons, and you walk around like normally, you don't move a cursor. But when you're moving around like the dungeons or whatever, the graphics aren't quite as good as PlayStation 2. It's not too noticeable if you're playing on the PSP, but if you're connecting it to your TV like I do often, you will notice a little bit of a difference. And another thing with, you know, moving the cursor around during your daytime life is, you know, the backgrounds look very nice and there are some like character sprites on there, but they don't move around. They're completely stationary. So, you know, some may like that, some may not. I found it jarring at first, like I said, but I got over it very quickly and really started to enjoy the game. Oh, and something I forgot to add to the battle system is that when you do an all-out attack on the enemies and you knock them out, you generally afterwards you get this thing called shuffle time, which lays out anywhere from like 2 to I think 6 tarot cards, and you know there might be a persona in there. Really burpy today. There might be a persona in there, you know, like bonus experience, bonus items, extra money, or you know you can heal your party or whatever. But it'll show you the cards face up, and then it'll flip them over, and it'll like shuffle them around all over the screen. And you know you kind of have to watch your card that you want, and then just kind of follow it, and hopefully you guess right when it's done shuffling. But you know that's the way you get bonus items in the game, which I like a lot. It's I think it's a big improvement over just getting random items after battle. But that's about it. Hopefully I didn't miss anything that I wanted to talk about. But yeah, it's a great game. It's very long. Like I said, I'm 110 hours into it, and you know, I suppose I could have shaved that down a little bit. But you know, I like the fighting in this game. I like just exploring everything and you know doing all the social links and all that, and I can get like all OCD over everything. But yeah, it's definitely one of the best ports available for the PSP, and there's a lot of great ones. You know, you got like Final Fantasy Tactics and the Castlevania Dracula X thing. That's another great port, or actually two. But yeah, I would rank this right alongside those because this is really well done. Great game. I will be replaying it at least one other time, probably just to do the female protagonist. But yeah, if you haven't played it yet, or if you're a big fan of the PS2 game, you know, check it out. It's well worth your time, well worth your money. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.